Welcome into a live edition of the Casey Laboratory, presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our wonderful partners in Possible here at KC Sports Network. Ken Swanson here with Maddie Lane on a Wednesday. Maddie, how we doing? Are we having a better Wednesday than we had a Monday? Any trees falling anywhere?
Well, okay. No trees have fallen, so that is a bonus. However, the tree in the brush that I was dealing with on Monday, I think is getting the last laugh, as it has given me a wicked amount of poison ivy or sumac or one of the aboves. Because my entire right leg and arm and back is just absolutely on fire right about now. And so, yeah, that's not going great. So thank you for asking, but no, I am still losing the battle to the tree.
Last Wednesday, you had a cold. And today, what is sumac?
It's another poisonous plant.
Okay.
Yeah, like sumac, poison oak, poison ivy. Those are your main three ones. As a kid, super allergic to poison ivy. I don't know if I am actually allergic to poison ivy now because we have a lot of plants and I had not had it for 5 years since moving here. And Rachel gets it all the time. The kids have got it. I had not had any for 5 years of moving here. Then a month ago, the goats broke down my fence, went out into this brush, and I had to go carry them out. And coming back, all of a sudden, I had a bunch of it within a couple days. So whatever specifically is back in this corner where my tree fell, I have definitely allergic to, and it is wrecking my life right now.
Well, I'm sorry. Thank you for doing the show with us.
Thank
still.
You. You know what? I actually think I should get like a raise. I should get your share for this for my work.
Oh, really? You should probably. You want a big raise? Is that what you want? Was that an attempt to try to transition into Trey Smith's massive, ginormous, huge 4-year deal with the Kansas City Chiefs for $94 million APY or $23.5 million APY? Yes, I am talking about that. What are you going to say, Matthew? Sorry for jumping in.
I was going to say, are you telling me that I deserve a record-breaking podcaster contract coming my way?
I didn't say that.
I think that's what you said. That was what your transition said.
I didn't say that at all. You deserve. You do deserve. You deserve everything you've got coming, except for this poison sumac or whatever it is. But the Kansas City Chiefs have secured Trey Smith's services for the next 4 seasons. Again, 4-year, $94 million deal, $23.5 million APY. The deal does get done. They closed things up right before the deadline. Maddie Lane, what were your thoughts, your emotions hearing that news was announced?
Really? They got it done? No way. That was my reaction, Kent. Hey, we knew it was going to happen. I think everybody assumed that it was going to be the highest paid offensive guard in the NFL. And we said it would probably happen sometime between like mini camp and the start of training camp, because that's when the Chiefs like to do stuff like this. And lo and behold, here we are in between mini camp and training camp, right up at the deadline, as the Chiefs love to do. Trey Smith becomes the highest paid guard in NFL history. So no surprises, nothing. I don't want to say it's not a big deal, because it obviously is, and you feel great about the story for Trey Smith. We talked about it all off season. Okay, this is not a guy that got a huge payday coming out of college because of where he got drafted. Like, yes, he got real good money to play football, but it wasn't like he was a first-round pick where you kind of start to have like life-changing money after you're done with it. He needed a big contract to get to that point, and like, you're happy for him that he got it, but I don't know. It didn't catch me by surprise. I feel like we've kind of all been bracing and talking about this literal exact contract being signed for the past 4 months now. So I don't know what else I have to say about it, if I'm being honest, Kent.
Yeah, I think the expectation for the entirety of the process, like, I think there was at no point where it dipped below 50% that I thought Trey Smith wasn't signing an extension. You know, there were, like, I think the later and later you started to at least doubt a little bit because of how radio silent it was. I mean, it was radio silent for the entirety of the summer. There was no, the Chiefs have been in negotiations. There's a back and forth, blah, 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 blah. It is an extremely quiet deal for the entirety of the process. And it was good to see that this team, and it's good to see that the Chiefs and Trey Smith were able to come to a deal. And I don't think it was ever really in question. We got to give some props to Pretty Ricky, because Pretty Ricky's been pretty well on it for this entire time. And, Ricky Scoops has been on it, man. I think when he speaks, it's kind of worth paying attention to a little bit here. So it kind of brings me to the next thing, right? Is there was a little buzz from Ricky Scoops today. We asked the question, hey, who's getting signed next, right? Is it going to be a Trent McDuffie? Is it going to be George Karlaftis? Who are we going to see getting a deal next? And I think if you were looking at the pecking order of who you want in Kansas City more, I think I would obviously pick a blue chip player in Trent McDuffie over George Karlaftis at this point. However, there's some pricing categories that these two might fit in that are a little different. And so Pretty Ricky comes out this week, today, in fact, and says that the Chiefs are close to, are working on a deal with George Karlaftis, the defensive end. And there's talks that it could get done before training camp. That is, well, about a week from now. So, Maddie, I guess if George Karlaftis is the next signing, are you a little surprised or no?
Yes, because the timing doesn't make a lot of sense for me. If George Karlaftis signs this offseason to a multi-year deal extension with the Chiefs, somebody is, I think, operating out of turn. Whether that's the Chiefs paying Karlaftis like not extra, but paying a relative premium for where he's currently at, or George Karlaftis is taking less. Like I don't think that with 2 years left of, essential quality club control from the Chiefs, it feels like somebody would kind of have to be giving up some of their control over the situation to make a deal get done now. Like you're either going to have to overpay Karlaftis a little bit in the moment, or Karlaftis is going to have to take less to make this deal happen right now. So from that aspect, I do think it would surprise me to get done right now. It just doesn't seem like the timing makes a ton of sense for a very good, but definitely not elite, maybe not even like upper echelon starting defensive end at this moment in time, unless he is taking money that equates to that.
Where did you have him on the edge rankings?
Craig and I both had him outside the top 20 comfortably. Okay. Like we were starting to go through. So I know some of the names that you're going to bring up. We went through some of those names when we were ranking them, and we put him behind. Okay, well, I was going by previous conversations that we had off air today. Craig and I specifically talked about Gregory Rousseau, talked about Montez Sweat, guys of that nature, and we both put Karlaftis behind them in terms of like ranking where he is right now. Obviously, he's still young. He's younger than both those guys, been in the league a little less, so he can get better. But if you're looking at their contracts as like a starting point, I have a really hard time coming up with a justification right now to pay him more than what those guys got, because I don't think he's been on their level. I think they both show more ability to win a one-on-one and change where the game is going than he has up to this point.
Yeah, I wasn't actually about to come to the table with some names. I was just,
fine.
No, I think like if you're looking at true players that can play run and pass a little bit, like I think there are some niche speed rushers that get paid plenty, and it's like that makes some things tricky. So you're talking about an every down player that's going to play a ton of snaps for you. Like I think that's one of the big things that George Karlaftis has going for him. I don't know, I don't know if I don't know if he's going to justify what I think he probably will get eventually. And maybe it is with the Kansas City Chiefs, is that, he probably beats Greg Rousseau. Like, I think he probably is going to beat Greg Rousseau.
Woo!
His APY is $20 million. That is a $20 million APY. He got $49 million guaranteed on a 4-year, $80 million contract extension. Andrew Van Ginkel is sitting at $23 million APY, different players, but the point remains. I think it's closer to, between the Rashawn Gary, Andrew Van Ginkel number, which is going to place him in the top 10 in APY, most likely, if he does come to terms on a contract before if he's able to come to terms on a contract. So I think that's where you're looking. I think that's the range you're looking if you're getting something done early with George Karlaftis.
And see, to me, that would be the Chiefs paying a premium for a good but not upper echelon defensive end. I mean, I don't think he's on the same level. Van Ginkel's an interesting one because he technically is like an outside linebacker.
Yeah.
So you're not looking at him as a run defender. You're, there's a little bit of coverage acts. It's really just what he can do as a rusher, right? So he's a weird one, but like you're looking through recently signed contract. I think Rashawn Gary was pretty recently, Greg Rousseau pretty recently. You're paying him more than Josh Sweat. And I don't know. I know Josh Sweat's older. He's probably at his peak of what he's going to be. I have a hard time saying Karlaftis is better than Josh Sweat right now. And you're paying to get the development. I absolutely 100% understand that. It's just, I don't know. I have a hard time stomaching that. And I think if you're a team that is trying to maintain a Super Bowl window that currently has the highest paid defensive tackle, that's getting older, but still highest paid defensive tackle, highest paid center, highest paid guard, probably about to have the highest paid cornerback in the next year or two, going to have the highest paid quarterback again, because that money's got to be coming up. I understand you're going to stagger it. You're not hitting them all at once, just from a pure, one of the higher paid linebackers. Eventually you got to start cutting some corners on the good, not great players. And it just feels like getting Karlaftis in at what's going to be a fair-ish price, but it's still a little bit more than what I think it is probably not the most financially responsible move for the lifeline of what this team's at right now.
Yeah, I mean, would you rather pay 28-year-old Josh Sweat $19 million APY?
Then Karlaftis 24 for roughly the same period. Yeah, probably.
Okay,
I think so.
28-year-old Sweat versus Karlaftis. Okay, I'm
4 years is a little long for what I would do for Sweat. If it could be 3 years at that, and then that last year's obviously a little bit. Yes, yeah. I just think Sweat's a better player, so if I can have him cheaper, absolutely. Okay. Chase Young, again, a lot of injuries, but we're talking about another young defensive end. I think Chase Young probably played as good, if not better, than Karlaftis last year. And again, I know there's injury histories, but he just signed a 3-year, $17 million APY deal, right? Mm-hmm. And again, Karlaftis is a good run defender. There's like a winning pedigree. There's production on paper that is clearly going to push up his asking price if he does hit the open market. Like I get
volume, health.
Yeah. I get all of that. But if you're telling me I can have Chase Young for 3 years at 17 or George Karlaftis for, 4 years, 3 years, whatever it is at 24, it's just taking Chase Young. Like, I think you're getting a better value there, and you got to start finding some value with all the other big contracts that are coming up, I think.
There's so many void years in Chase Young's deal. He's getting void. He's getting void years into 2031.
Yeah, I didn't even look at the whole thing, honestly. Like, I don't know how they pulled it out.
So I just wonder.
33, 14 dead cap.
And I think by the time that George Karlaftis comes to the market, you're probably looking. I mean, you're probably paying a pretty penny anyway. Like it's not going to be the Josh Sweat deal. I think in the open market, George Karlaftis will get 25, 26, 27 if he is to hit that number. But that's because of scarcity. I just wonder if the Chiefs have 2 defensive ends that they've drafted in the first round recently, right? They've got George Karlaftis. They've also got Felix Anudike-Uzomah, and they went 1 for 2 at least to this point, hitting on one of the 2. Are they just terrified of life without a defensive lineman that they drafted because they know they're going to have a hard time being able to draft productive defensive ends or capable defensive ends, and so they're just trying to make sure that they can secure one because they know it's going to be tough sledding to try to have a stable, consistent body out there at the edge position? Like that's a question worth asking, and I think that might be some of the logic to trying to lock up a premium position that's really hard to acquire in free agency because they don't make them to free agency very, very often, and when they do, there's warts to them. So I don't know. I think that's the logic and the process behind why the Chiefs might be doing it, even though I don't know how much I'd be willing to pay George Karlaftis. I don't know if I'm going to have as much of a, and we'll see what the numbers wind up being. The Greg Rousseau deal I'd probably feel okay with, but it's probably going to be more than the Greg Rousseau deal.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll have to see what it is. Like, I want to be very clear. I'm not anti-paying and keeping around George Karlaftis. I just think he is at that really awkward spot where he's good enough that I do think that he's going to get paid. But I don't know if he's good enough to ever come out of that contract thinking you got a good value. I think Trey Smith fits that bill. I think that Nick Bolton fits that bill. Creed probably plays up to and like gives you a value on his contract because of everything he does, right? But they're starting to pay a lot of positions a lot of money that I think it's going to be really hard to overperform that contract. And I just think adding Karlaftis to that isn't great. To your point, though, you missed on the pick on Felix. You have a pretty empty defensive end room after this next season. Mike Dana clearly isn't a full-time starter. Charles Omenihu he's wanting to prove himself and go get another big payday. Like, you don't have a ton of guys that are really ready to step in, but also the Chiefs have, again, 2 years of control if they really want to exercise it all over Karlaftis left without extending him. So I don't know. It's just the timing to me is really weird if Karlaftis isn't taking a team-friendly deal, I guess is where it really boils down to me.
Yeah, and it might be a little team friendly because it is early. Like maybe it is. Maybe it is. And maybe that's why the team.
And maybe he loves it here. And like, you know, it doesn't happen often in pro sports as fans want to think, right? If it is team friendly, it comes in how things get structured, not the overall money for the most part. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying for the most part, it comes in how things get structured. But maybe Karlaftis does have a little bit more wiggle room and is willing to maybe take a little bit less because it's coming early. And maybe because he has been so durable and he plays 85% of the snaps, maybe they're willing to put a lot of guarantees in it. And so maybe the overall number isn't as high, but maybe the guaranteed number is super high. I don't know. We'll have to see how it all plays out. I just, from the standpoint of looking at what we were talking about, of offering him a deal above Rousseau, closer to the Rashawn Gary level right now, that's where I would get cold feet at that point in time.
Do you worry? Do you have any worries about Trent McDuffie potentially getting extended because of this signing by George Karlaftis?
No, because I don't think the Chiefs would be silly enough to lock down George Karlaftis, and this is a no shade at him, over Trent McDuffie long-term. I also say that, and as those words are leaving my mouth, I'm thinking, though, who's the secondary player that they have paid, especially on a second deal, a lot of money to, or do they think they can just churn and burn that room? I guess we'll see. I feel like Trent McDuffie is closing in on that Chris Jones tier where he's worth, throwing away all of your priors. He's worth going out of your norms for, but we'll have to see how they operate. But I don't think Karlaftis deal in particular would stop them from doing that.
I just wonder, I think they will pay Trent McDuffie. I think so.
I hope so.
You've got 2 more years of club control with Trent McDuffie at a relative cost.
Franchise tag for corners is still okay.
And then the franchise tag. So you're looking at 3 more years of Trent McDuffie, and he leaves. And so, gets out at 27. And do the Chiefs want to sign him to a 4-year deal at 27 to pay him through year 31? We'll see. I don't know. I have some thoughts. Like, I think there's a non-zero chance that he doesn't get extended. And maybe that's kind of how they're going to play it. And they're like, we're going to keep doing what we've done. We've gone cheap in the cornerback position so many times over the last few years. And we're going to keep doing it. Like, I don't know. I could see it happening.
Yeah, and if he doesn't get done, I just don't think it's because of Karlaftis. I think it's a team-wide philosophy of we're not going to pay a cornerback top-of-the-line money. That's just, again, that's how I think it works in my head.
Yeah, no, that's fair. We've been going through lessons learned over the last few weeks. We've only got 2 games left after this one, but it finally happened, folks. We finally have achieved week 18. We'll talk about that right after this break.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network. Emprise Bank has been with us from the beginning. They were our first network partner, and they believed in the vision of what we were building from the start. I can't speak to any other banks or companies and how they operate, but I can tell you from personal experience and based on the growth of the network you're listening to right now, that if you have banking needs, call our friends at Emprise Bank. We've worked with so many great people there over the years, from Vicky and Aggie to Andrea, Lori, Jackie, Deb, and Aaron, and not to mention so many others that not just supported KC Sports Network, but supported our KCSN Foundation as well. But the best thing that I know is that if I have a question or a problem, no matter how dumb the question is, I know who I'm going to call and who I'm going to talk to. And I know that I'm getting an answer from someone that I can trust. And I know that person is there to help us. That's why Emprise Bank has always been and continues to be our partner in Possible. And they can be yours too. You just have to reach out. If you have a banking need, whether it's business or personal, hit me up. I will connect you directly with the same people that have helped us build KCSN. And that's our friends at Emprise Bank.
Folks, there's nothing that beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And there's no simpler way to get in on the action than by downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Breaking down every game of the 2024 season, and we finally got to watch the 38-0 drubbing of the Kansas City Chiefs against the Denver Broncos.
Hell yeah.
That was so much fun to watch. Actually, I do need to bring one other thing up real quick before we get into that. The KCSN golf tournament. If you are interested in doing that, we only have a few spots left. It is going to be an incredible time. The Tacos and Bourbon golf tournament at Creekmore. It is so much fun. It's August 18th. That's a Monday. Get your team of 4 together. You're gonna be well fed. You're going to have a good time. The vibes are going to be immaculate. Trust me, it's a lot of fun. If you've ever been to one, or if you've ever heard of anybody going to one, we have a great time out at the KCSN golf tournament. The link is in the description of the show. There will also be a raffle during that, so you can win some prizes as well, and enter to win some prizes as well. All this goes towards the KCSN Foundation, and the KCSN Foundation is a really efficient nonprofit wing of KC Sports Network, and we do everything to push every single dime that we possibly can into the organizations that we are supporting, helping with children's literacy, helping with feeding people that are homeless, kids that may not have the best Christmas are going to have a better Christmas because of the things that happen with your support of the KCSN Foundation. So link is in the description of the show. If you want to play golf and do good and have a good time, go check it out. All right. Week 18 finally, the finally hit. I was really, I was both relieved to finally get it and sad to see the bit go. I have kind of wanted to watch
it.
This
wasn't
game.
A bit.
It was a little bit of a bit. I kind of wanted to watch this game. I kind of wanted to watch.
I was excited to watch this game. I wanted to watch it too.
Well, why were you excited to watch it, Matthew?
Well, you know what? Let's start with you. Why don't you go first? And then we'll circle back to me. Because I have like one thing that's kind of, I got something, but like, I don't want to bury if you got something interesting.
I don't have anything interesting in this one.
Okay.
I mean,
it wasn't as fun to rewatch as you thought, huh?
Yeah, the hype did not lead. The buildup did not meet it. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the last time we saw Joe Tooney play guard in a Chiefs uniform, because he played left guard for the first couple plays of that game to keep the start streak alive.
Yes, he did.
So, like,
big.
There was that. That was cool. No, it was painful to watch. It looked like a team that really didn't do much game planning, that really didn't do much in the way of preparing, and sat all of their players. It looked like a It looked like a 50, not quite 53 through 90 playing against a real NFL
I
team.
don't know.
Kind of, it was brutal, man. It was absolutely brutal, and that Denver team was just absolutely teeing off on some guys, especially up front. So, other than that, no real big takes. There's nothing redeeming to take away from it. And the game wasn't even well positioned to help young guys, a ton of young guys, really get a chance to shine either. It's not like you can point to Jaden Hicks really got a great opportunity here. Felix Anudike-Uzomah really had he was well positioned to shine here. Like there was none of that. Play call and opportunity.
Spade to spade. Carson Wentz stinks. I don't know why he had a job. That was brutal. That was unbelievably bad. But no, that's not my big takeaway, but he was really bad. I rewatched. It wasn't a bit. I was excited to rewatch this game because in the back of my mind, the whole time, this whole thing has just been like, hey, Kingsley played left guard. He played it well. Actually, my thought going into it was he played well enough to be excited about him going into the potential starting left guard this year. So I was excited to go back to this game with my entire purpose being to watch Kingsley and how he performed at left guard. I got to say, I came out of it not near as high on Kingsley's performance at left guard as I thought I was coming out of the regular season, just like focusing purely on him in that spot. It wasn't bad. And it definitely was, a lot of it was, hey, here's a guy playing a new position in a complete blowout versus starters without a great left tackle playing next to him, DJ Humphries. And it was fine. It wasn't good. There was plenty of bad. You still saw his lack of balance all over the place, right? You still saw him being very late to connect his hands to his body position, right? So there was a fair amount of stuff that Kingsley just like, okay, I'm not saying this stuff can't be fixed, but I wasn't as impressed coming out of a rewatching of this game as I thought I was. And so that actually launched me into something that I wrote over at kcsn.com, where you can check out the KCSN newsletter about the battle for the starting left guard spot next year. Because rewatching this game, I thought going through it the first time was like, man, maybe Mike Caliendo is holding on to this job a little bit longer than we thought. Maybe Kingsley isn't quite ready to just enter camp and like really compete, because not only is he learning a new position, he's playing next to a new left tackle. He's got to learn all the calls, the techniques, everything the Chiefs want to do. Oh, and he has to be better, just simply better. And like, that's a lot to ask from a second year player after one offseason.
Yeah, it's a big jump for Kingsley Suamataia. And like, I think the hope is that the talent just kind of takes over at some point here in year 2 for him, because there is plenty of talent and ability to be on the field. Like, he's got capable talent. Like, the Chiefs thought he had enough talent to try him and trot him out at left tackle with barely any live reps. But yeah, it was a rough watch. He was out over his skis several times. You talk about his hand placement. Like, his hand placement was not good, the same way it wasn't good for the entirety of the season outside. And so you see some of those things. Got bull rushed a couple times and just walked
because
back
his hands
entirely.
are so late. I mean,
Because
it's the same thing. His hands are just so late to make contact.
And like, I think, operating in a phone booth and not being quite ready for, someone kind of maybe trying to run through your chest a little bit differently, not getting, from less space, right? Like, if you're going to get bull rush, you're still operating, again, in space a little bit more when you're a tackle. And, you maybe you're trying to position yourself a little bit later. You can anchor a little bit later in your set. You maybe don't always have that luxury and that much depth and that much space to operate as a guard. And he got caught in his chest several times in that game. But I'm not ready to write him off yet, because I do think there is a ton of talent. And like, I think, I think the talent will ultimately prevail. And I do think, yeah, it just takes him getting better, but I do think he will get better, because that was his first opportunity in his first game reps at the guard position. That, like, I think it's a good baseline and a good jumping off point. But like, the expectations should be, that you hope it works out well for him. You think it can work out well for him at the left guard position, but so far from being, finished. And the version we saw in week 18 is something we would be critical of if we saw it in week 1. So there is a big step that has to be taken by Kingsley Suamataia from that point to now. and it's gonna take a big jump for us to feel comfortable and not be overly critical of what we see at the left guard position if he is to win that job in week 1.
Yeah. And then that was pretty much like my thought coming out of it was, okay, there's a lot more here to work on than I initially thought. And like, there's obviously expected to be, learning pains, and like, that's fine. I definitely came out of it saying, okay, just moving inside, and this was unfair to think, but just moving inside didn't fix the timing issue. It didn't fix the balance issue. I mean, even just watching his feet and his body position, he just puts himself off balance without even there being contact sometimes. And then I think in college, he has the raw power and athleticism to survive that, whereas he doesn't at the NFL, especially playing against starters, trying their hardest to knock, him over in his first reps at guard. So as the game went on, I was like, man, I wonder what this competition between him and Caliendo looks like. The potential of Kingsley, the upside, the better run blocker, the bigger, more physical guy versus the guy that, I mean, realistically, I went back and watched Caliendo too. He's in the right spot. He's maybe not always physically able to hold up, but he's not just blatantly missing guys. He's not putting himself into bad positions very frequently. He just doesn't have the same physical ability. So I'm like, that's going to be an interesting battle. But that wasn't it. As the game went on, it kept happening over and over again. There next to Kingsley is this fellow rookie, Hunter Norzad, playing center. And buddy, if we're comparing tape of Norzad playing center to Kingsley playing left guard, I mean, there's no competition. Norzad's tape at center in that game against the Broncos, infinitely better than Kingsley's at left guard. Now, he's playing center. There's a little bit more built-in protection, so you don't get a ton of one-on-one reps. I think I only counted like 3 of them throughout the entire game where it was pure one-on-one for Hunter Norzad. But guess what? No pressures on those 3 one-on-one reps. You can even expand that out. He took on some stunts. He picked up some blitzes. His eyes stay active, and he meets guys with like some pop. So he doesn't give up ground when he's catching these guys. I was absolutely in love with how his pass protection went. It was phenomenal. It was everything we saw at Penn State, where he's kind of blending a little bit of the technical prowess of a Caliendo with, I'm not definitely nowhere near Kingsley's physical traits, but closer to that. He's 320 pounds. He's not as light as Caliendo. He has incredibly long arms for an interior offensive lineman, over 33 inches. Like, he can just do stuff that Caliendo can't physically, and then he can put himself in positions that Kingsley right now can't put himself into. So I know at center, I didn't go back and watch the preseason where he did get some guard reps. I do need to do that at some point in time. But if I'm just operating purely off this Denver game like we were doing for this rewatch, like, hey, let's let Norzad take some left guard reps, because especially in pass protection, they ran the ball 8 times with those 2 on the field, 8 times. And it's like all random zone stuff. Can't take a lot from that. But in pass protection, like, I think right now he's definitely better than what Kingsley's giving you. So I don't know. I think he should be in this competition squarely with Caliendo and Kingsley.
It's hard. It's hard to deny the tape, and it's hard to deny what he did in that limited sample size. And yeah, like if you remember, Nick Allegretti also started as a center as well. And so you're talking about a guy, I do think Hunter Norzad can be an all 3 type player. At worst, I think the Chiefs they found a better version of Mike Caliendo in Hunter Norzad too. Like, I do think he's got the ability, and he's shown some stuff on tape that he might wind up being a better version of what you saw out of Mike Caliendo at the guard position if they are to throw Hunter Norzad out there and give him a shot. And this is a guy that has played up and down the offensive line in his career already. So I don't think him having to step in and play left guard, like, yeah, having the ball in your hands is a little bit different and can be a little bit different. And you are, there's built-in help a lot, right? But I do think that there's a chance that Hunter Norzad could be a capable quality offensive lineman, and potentially, yeah, maybe he gets thrown into that left guard position a little bit more. This is a guy that already had, high IQ, high intelligence, and you have to, if you're going to be able to. And I think he was an Ivy League guy too, if I remember.
He played tackle at Cornell. Yeah, I played right tackle at Cornell before transferring to Penn State.
So, I mean, yeah, up and down the offensive line, smart kid, playing center here.
Craig and I have a sweet interview with him that I'm going to make Tucker find and link below that we have on the KCSN channel.
Yeah, last year was the first time we didn't have an interview with a future Chiefs draft pick at the East West Shrine Bowl, and Noel Williams was there, guys. We tried. We tried for Noel. We did actually have.
He was on the list. Yeah,
he was on the list. We just didn't get him. We had him on the list.
Final thing for this, and we can move on unless you have more.
No.
Another thing that I think might help Norzad's like potential, and again, I don't even know, he's not been mentioned to my knowledge in this competition, so maybe I'm just kind of like not reaching here, but just like expanding too much on just this one garbage, week 18 game. But he does have a little bit more experience playing on the interior. I would say he's a little bit more mentally and like technical wise pro ready. If you're going to have Josh Simmons playing that left tackle spot, is it a terrible idea to have somebody that's less project-like, less developmental next to him as he's returning from injury and trying to find his footing in the NFL? Like, is a Simmons-Kingsley pairing, is the risk there worth, not worth like weighing a little bit in the competition? I don't know. And I'm not guaranteeing that Norzad's not going to make the same amount of mistakes. Just the type of player he is, he seems a little bit more technically sound, a little bit more on top of his assignments just because of the experience factor on the interior. I just wonder if he might not be a better pairing next to a rookie as well. Or even Caliendo for that part. Like Caliendo also fits that bill too.
So yeah, I've thought the same thing, but it's come mostly from the Caliendo perspective. It's actually not mostly. It's come purely from the Caliendo perspective. Like when you think about one of the positives for Caliendo, it's that like he's already earned that trust of the coaching staff. He knows what he's doing, and he can be a guide for Josh Simmons in that scenario. As you're helping get him along, and Jalen Moore to a degree too, because it's Jalen Moore. He hasn't been here either. Yeah. So I think that's a case that you can make if you're arguing for a Caliendo for sure, and maybe to a degree on a Norzad as well.
Ronson Trey had this point too, and I says Caliendo's weakness is a lack of sand in his pants, and I agree. And he has like under 31-inch arms, or like right at 31-inch arms. So there's a lack of sand in his pants, and then he really struggles to get guys off of his chest and create space to be able to re-anchor. I think Norzad's bigger. Like I just think he noticeably is bigger, and like he's listed at 20 pounds heavier than Caliendo. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit even more than that. But beyond that, he just does have a little bit longer reach to me. So he can create space. And I think he plays with like a wide, if you look at their hips, Norzad plays with just a lot wider base. And Caliendo's base stays a lot more narrow. I think Norzad, he anchors better. But yeah, like any second-year player, he probably does need to get stronger still. But like if I'm comparing those two, I definitely think Caliendo spends a lot more time on his heels than Norzad did. I'm also comparing a center to a guard. So I'm comparing 3 rushes of a nose tackle one-on-one to Caliendo getting steamrolled by, insert Eagles player. So it's probably not a fair comparison.
Let's move on. Let's talk about some of these safeties here. We are continuing our series ranking top 10 by position in the National Football League. It is the safeties' turn to get some love. So let's kick things off. Maddie, how many tiers do you have?
I have 4.
I think I have 4 too.
Okay. I wanted to do 3, but I wanted to have some fun at the back end of this list. So I'll just start. I'll start here. We're going to go from 10 to 1. We are going to, list it in, here we go. Right. They're on the right track, but I want to see more from them. This is my final tier here. I have 10, Kalen Bullock for the Houston Texans, and Kirby Joseph for the Detroit Lions. Both guys are young. Kirby Joseph, I guess, has been around for a couple years, but I think they're trending the right direction. They're both coming off of solid years. I would say their best years in the NFL. Obviously, only one for Bullock, and then I think it's Joseph's 3rd year. But they're coming off of strong years. I just want to see a little bit more. I think both of them have some like clear strengths. Kirby Joseph is really good playing down into the box, playing downhill, delivering big hits, kind of being a little bit more like imposing of a figure. Bullock is a lot more of a rangy free safety that's looking to make plays on the ball. I would also say both have some things they need to work on. Bullock is not the best tackler. He struggles to play with physicality, and Kirby Joseph is a coverage guy. I just think that they're young enough and have shown some improvements in that area from college till now, or through their first couple years in the NFL. That I think there's still a ways to go up, but they are young and on the right track. So I wanted to get them a nod in this top 10.
I think Kirby Joseph is going to be higher than where I'm higher on Kirby Joseph than you are. And it's probably the 9 interceptions that he had this season, and he was a lot better in coverage than I think you're giving him credit for. I think he's very good in coverage in 2024. So that would be my pushback on Kirby Joseph getting a little bit of getting down there. But I ball production is undeniable there too.
It's up there.
Let's move on to mine. I have up and comer at number 10, Kalen Bullock.
What's happening?
I think he has a chance for to. I think he's gonna be a guy that has elite ball production. I think he is like not necessarily entirely in the Jesse Bates mold, but I do think it's because like I think Jesse Bates is maybe even a little bit more about that life in the run game as a run defender. But Kalen Bullock, I think, has a chance to make some, to be an impactful, rangy player in the back end in the back end of the defense. So I think he's going to be like he's not quite the Jesse Bates for me, but like I think there's some similarities to him, and like I think he's on the rise. So give me Kalen Bullock at number 10. Maddie, what's your next tier?
Oh, my next tier. Okay, my next tier we have starting at number 8. They're great at their jobs, but maybe not the most versatile guys. We got Javon Holland. Then we got Justin Reed, our guy. We got Budda Baker, and we got Jesse Bates. These are guys that are great safeties, but I don't want to say scheme specific, but they're not quite as scheme diverse as everybody that's going to come up ahead of them. Javon Holland, we've seen him now play in a couple different schemes. Great in like the Fangio style quarter half kind of stuff where things stay in front of him. He's carrying things, passing stuff off. But when you have him just play deep and try to sort stuff out or play in the box, we've seen some issues there. Justin Reed, we're all familiar with where he's really good in the areas that he struggles at. So we don't got to dive into that too much. Budda Baker's an odd one because his size tells you that he should be a coverage guy, but he doesn't really play like that. He probably has a lot more similarities to Justin Reed actually than a lot of the other guys on this list and how he plays. And I think throughout his career, the Cardinals have tried to make him like a Tyrann Mathieu type player where it's, hey, you're a slot man cover guy and that's not his game, or you're this deep center fielder and that's not his best bet. And then Jesse Bates, that's obviously where he excels. I'm notoriously a little lower on Bates than a lot of people because I don't think he's a very good tackler. And I don't think his man coverage skills have ever gotten to like the elite for a safety tier. They're good. He's not a bad man coverage guy, but I think he's pretty much just a deep zone defender that makes a lot of great plays on the ball. So very good at what they do, just maybe not the most diverse guys.
I think I found the whole safety position to be challenging in that regard because like, I do think that like there is some scheme specificity to all these players and they are very niche. And like, if you were categorizing them, like maybe it's not a 1 through 10 and it's like you're tiering them into different styles of players. Like I think you could make that argument. So it was an interesting exercise to try to mesh all of these together. Let's move on and we'll go to my next tier. I call it the Hall of Very Good. Like I think it's a very good tier of football players, and there's some similarities to this one. And like I do think like I have Jesse Bates at 6, I have Budda Baker at 9, Antoine Winfield at 8, Minkah Fitzpatrick at 7. I still think Minkah Fitzpatrick is one of the better safeties in football, and I know that the Steelers just traded him away for a top 16, 17 cornerback currently. But, I think Minkah Fitzpatrick was not too far removed from being potentially the best safety in football. And now I do think maybe he's not quite what he was 2022, 2023, but I do still think that, he's got a lot of all those guys. Like I think there's some diversity to his skill set too, right? Like I think he's probably one of the more diverse in that tier of player where he can do a lot of different things for a defense, where some of those guys like a Jesse Bates you could talk about might be a little bit more specific. So still in the Hall of Very Good right now for me in that tier.
So you have Fitzpatrick where I have Justin Reed. I don't have Fitzpatrick in my top 10. He probably just missed. And that would be sacrilege 2 years ago, but I think his aging has showed up really big these last 2 years. And the thing with Minkah is he did his entire career was kind of built around being the most versatile, really good at everything kind of guy. I don't know if he's ever was elite or excellent at anything besides like playmaking, but like that's not a position, right? I don't know what safety position he was ever elite at. And now that he's lost a step, like almost a full step, I don't know where I necessarily play him to get a huge impact. Now, maybe it was just done in Pittsburgh last year and he's going to go to Miami and it'll look a lot better. So like I'm willing to end up with, eating some crow on this one, but I think the age is catching up to him. And I just don't know where you put him to get top 10 impact anymore based on what we've seen. So I had to keep him out. Whereas Justin Reed said, I don't know if I'm playing a box safety right now in the NFL, he's probably one of my first 2 or 3 guys that I'm bringing up. And so that pulled him up into the top 10 for me. That's the only that's the only player difference I think we're going to have are those 2 guys.
Let's see the next tier then, Matthew.
My next tier. These are the versatility kings. These are my two guys that can do everything. I think these safeties can do anything you ask of them, and they're going to do it very, very well. They are going to be great at anything they ask. That is Xavier McKinney of the Green Bay Packers, Brian Branch of the Detroit Lions. Branch being at 3 is actually why I don't have Kirby Joseph higher. I think Kirby Joseph in that defense got the green light to be the Deron Bland of the Lions defense and just take a bunch of risks in the run game and the pass game because everybody else was having to not cover for him, but everybody else was doing the stuff that forced offenses to take some risk. And I think Kirby Joseph was the recipient. And that's not a bad thing. You need players like that. He's still in my top 10, but like I just think Branch's ability to play man in the slot or play deep or be a force player against the run makes Joseph's job and the corner's jobs a lot easier. And then you look at the rest of that defense, they're just going out there for a fist fight every single play. So somebody eventually is going to get a run free and kind of clean stuff up. So Branch is great. I think McKinney getting out of the Giants and going to the Packers, we finally got to see him like at his best for the Packers last year. And it was hard to not put him in my top tier actually, because I think he did everything for them. His plays on the ball were phenomenal. He's still a very sound tackler in the open field, maybe not an enforcer, but a very sound tackler in the open field or coming down to run the alley. So I very much think McKinney could have jumped Branch and even maybe worked his way into the top tier that we'll see here in a second. Your next year? You were muted. Whoo, boy. Brutal. All right. So here is Kent's all-pro tier. He has Kirby Joseph at 5. Derwin James, never mind. We do have another difference. He has Derwin James in here, who I do not have in here at all either, and Xavier McKinney coming in at 3. Are you back? Can you defend yourself?
Test.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So, yeah, weirdly, my mic got unplugged. Here. So okay. I actually just got bumped, and I think it unplugged it. So apologies here for you. So funnily enough, like I think I had, I don't remember what position we were doing recently, but when I went to kind of just look at the all pros, it actually stacked relatively close to where I had, where the all pros that were there were very stacked pretty similarly. I think Budda Baker was also a all pro, but I don't have him quite as high as I do this year. Xavier McKinney, I think played outstanding football for the Green Bay Packers. I still think Derwin James is one of the better safeties in the National Football League. I know he's still in decline. I know he's in decline. I know he's on the downside of his career, and maybe not what he used to be. But I just still think there's so many things that he brings to the table, and with that size, with that frame, run and pass, like I still think he's just an exceptional player, playing a little bit more closer to the box, even now a little bit more too, and doing some good things against the run. So I really still think Derwin James is one of the better safeties in football. And so I put them in what I would call the all pro tier.
Can I see Kent's list again one more time, Tuck? Sorry. Okay. So you have 2 left here. Okay.
I have 2 left.
Okay. All right.
You're worried about it. I think I know where. We'll see.
All right. My last 2 guys. These are my top 2 safeties in the NFL. I have Antoine Winfield at number 2 and Kyle Hamilton at number 1. I mean, listen, I don't think Kyle Hamilton is the perfect safety like a lot of people do, but he's clearly, I think, the best right now. He can do everything. He does everything really well. And then like maybe unlike Branch or McKinney, he has this just alien build that puts him on prime. He's closer to prime Derwin James, where I would have had him at number 1 for all these years, than a lot of other guys. I will say this, though. Hamilton's lack of being like an elite athlete does show up to me. I don't think he has the best change of direction or the best long speed. So when the Ravens are forced to use him on a slot wide receiver, I think you can get some mismatches. When they are forced to like make him play even as a deep half guy, I think you can find some ways to really stress him. But what he does well as a run defender, as a force player, as a blitzer, playing the ball near the line of scrimmage, shutting down tight ends is so worthwhile. And then Winfield, I know he's coming off a down year where he was injured a little bit throughout the year, but I'm relying a little bit more on 2 years ago for what we saw out of him. I just think Winfield was so good there at being like exactly what you want out of a deep half field, coming downhill, delivering hits on underneath passes, run plays, playing the ball up in the air. Like I think he kind of checked every box that I ever could have wanted 2 years ago. And I know it's a down year, but I'm kind of banking on a rebound this season.
All right, let me put my elites here together. And did I put Brian Branch as a safety?
Yeah.
Do you not have Brian Branch at all?
No, he was 3 for me. He was 3 with Xavier McKinney and my versatility Kings tier.
Okay, sorry. I thought I okay, let me go back. Okay, good. I was just double checking. So the top 2 for me are the elite tier. I mean, it's the elite of the all pros. It's Kyle Hamilton and Brian Branch. Kyle Hamilton, I don't think he's quite like, hey, he's not like a Saquon tier level player or whatever, where he just gets his own tier to himself. But I do think Kyle Hamilton is a special football player. He was an overthought football player. Actually, both him and Brian Branch were both overthought football players when they were drafted. Kyle Hamilton had no business falling to the Baltimore Ravens when he did, and Brian Branch falling as far as he did had no business falling there. These are both 2 like exceptional football players with great instincts. Yes, there were some concerns about athleticism from both of them coming out, but they have quelled those concerns very easily. And you're talking about guys that can do a lot of different things for you. They can be elite from the slot. They can play from deep. They have incredible instincts. They are sound tacklers. These are 2 of the best. They're just fantastic, pure football players. So I stick them in their own tier on their own. This is the elite of the elite right now in the National Football League. I think Kyle Hamilton and Brian Branch are your 2 best safeties. Antoine Winfield, sell him on me. Sell me why I'm too low on Antoine Winfield. And I'll just tell you, part of my baking into it was 9 games played last year. And he's only played 2 full seasons.
This is definitely not this is how they played last year ranking. It's just like, if I was building out a defense right now, I think so it immediately to me, if I'm building out a defense, we're starting only with the top 4, because I want somebody that can do everything. If Winfield has to step down the slot and play reps and man coverage, I feel comfortable with that. If he's playing deep half, center field, I feel comfortable with him taking on any role. And then of these guys we're mentioning here, McKinney, Branch, Hamilton, Winfield, he probably comes in second in terms of being a tackler to me, only behind Hamilton. And I honestly think he might come downhill even faster if we're talking about running the alley. So I get my plus run defender from the safety position. I have a guy that has some really good ball skills despite being a little bit on the shorter side. I don't know. It's just he checks all the boxes for me, but he doesn't just get past them. He excels, I think, in all these roles when he's healthy. Now, the injury concerns are there, and like I can't guarantee his health. So maybe it's a little risky here, but I just go back to some of these big games that I've watched where Winfield is healthy. He's playing in the deep half. He's playing center field. And the next play, he's running through the B cap and stuffing a runner right at the line of scrimmage. I think he does everything you want out of a safety, and he clearly has the movement skills of a smaller guy, more of a cornerback type of player, which is something we're always going to gravitate towards.
Do you think that Jaden Hicks has a chance to make it into this list in 2026?
Probably not in 2026. I think it's a little bit longer of a grind to get there, because I mean, like, as we were looking at here too, right? Like, I had Minkah Fitzpatrick outside of this, and there could be a chance for a rebound there. Derwin James, you're right, I think played better last year than he did 2 years ago. So he's still right there on the outside. And if he continues going back that direction, you have other young guys like Jalen Petrie, Julian Love, who's not that young, but younger. You have a lot of guys, I think, just lurking on the outside of this list that Hicks would not only have to jump them, but also jump people in the top 10. And like, we kind of went through this, you notice I'm gravitating towards guys that are either elite at one thing or can do everything. I don't know if Hicks is going to be able to do everything by next year or be elite at any one thing. He's going to be a little bit more jack of all trades, and a good season is being a jack of all trades next year, in a similar way that you've seen Brian Cook kind of be, in a similar way that they use Justin Reed, even though he wasn't always better as a deep cover guy.
Anything on the safeties? Anything else on the safeties before we move on?
Is there a move on? I don't. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
I'm gonna read your whole list.
Well, do you have anything else on the safeties?
No, I don't think so. The only thing is, like, do we think there's any chance Brian Cook can crack into this, or do you think Hicks is the only guy?
I think Hicks is the only guy.
Okay. Why don't you read your safeties? And I do have one more safety related question, but we don't need these lists up here for it.
All right, my list: 10, Kalen Bullock; 9, Budda Baker; 8, Antoine Winfield; 7, Minkah Fitzpatrick; 6, Jesse Bates; 5, Kirby Joseph; 4, Derwin James; 3, Xavier McKinney; 2, Brian Branch; and number 1 is Kyle Hamilton.
I have 10, Kalen Bullock, the Houston Texans; 9, Kirby Joseph, the Detroit Lions; 8, Javon Holland of the New York Giants. Justin Reed going to join the Bayou Chiefs with the New Orleans Saints. Number 6, the Arizona Cardinals, Budda Baker. Jesse Bates at 5 from the Atlanta Falcons. Xavier McKinney from the Packers at 4. Brian Branch from the Lions at 3. Antoine Winfield of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 2. And unfortunately, a Baltimore Raven and Kyle Hamilton tops this list for me. Now, here's my question. You said Brian Cook has no chance to make the top 10. I said I don't think Hicks can. I think it's a very low chance. And I think you kind of agreed. I don't think either of us are going to make the case that Mike Edwards could crack the top 10. Should the Chiefs go out and see what Justin Simmons wants to come play for a year? Do the Chiefs need safety help? Not that Justin Simmons is a top 10 safety at this point, but if you're looking at the Chiefs safety room and we're saying, I don't even think that they're really competing for a top 10 safety this upcoming season, that means you're probably taking a step back from what you had in Justin Reed, who I had in the top 10. I don't know how close you would have had him, but he's at least vying for a top 10-ish spot. Should the Chiefs maybe go out and look to add a veteran safety help to a unit that we don't seem to have a ton of promise of having a top 10 player at?
I think I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'll understand why they do it. I don't know if I'm clamoring for that right now. I think they can get by with what they have. I think Shamari Connor is going to play from a deep alignment more often as well. So you're adding another body to the mix there. I think he's more safety than just a nickel in 2025, I think. So you've got some young guys still to kind of give a look to. Do you want to stop any progress from that group by throwing in Simmons? Like if it gets bad enough, sure. But I think you let it ride at least a little bit of camp and see what you got and then make a decision from there.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a rush to do it. I have reservations about how the safety room is going to look. I think we did it earlier when I said, okay, I wanted to watch Hicks versus the Steelers. I focused in on him and there wasn't anything negative. There was just clear as day. He's a rookie that needs to progress. And so I don't want it to take away from Hicks reps. If we're going though, and we're saying, hey, we need a more veteran guy to make all of the right reads, if we need someone to direct traffic, and hey, maybe we just need somebody that has a chance to be a little bit better. I'm not locked into Brian Cook needing a ton more reps. Like if they don't foresee a clear path to him advancing what he's already been, then I'm okay calling him a third safety and trying to see if Simmons can come in and be a starter next to Hicks and then having Brian Cook be the third safety. I don't think Cook has shown me enough right now that I am locked into him being a starter. So if they think Simmons can provide a better play than what he has, I am okay with, stunting that development at this point in time, I think.
If they do it, I'm not going to be stunned. And it just tells you what you need to know about that young room and what they feel like they need in that young room. But yeah, I'm very excited to see Jaden Hicks. I hope he gets a ton of runway and gets an opportunity to go out and do some of the things that we saw in 2024. That is going to do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.
Craig's okay.